Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I'm joined always by Keelan. How you doing, man?
I'm very well in yourself. How about you? How are you?
Oh, wonderful! It is Hump Day, and we're a week away from Christmas, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
all things
Christmas,
considered.
right? Yeah, the holidays themselves, but of course. But for me, I don't know about you. Christmas itself lost a little bit of its thrill when I'm not going to be like most people. Oh, when I had to start paying the bills or I had to start
Uh,
buying the gifts,
yeah.
but it just lost a little bit of the thrill when you had to do your own cooking and your own driving and cleaning and all of that stuff and still participate with the entire family.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, it can be very stressful. As somebody who's had many a household to go to at Christmas, I think at one point my wife and I were going to three different households in one day. Um, and that was like, as far as, like them being like 2 or 3 hours away from each other too. So
Oh God. Okay.
I,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, at first I was like, that's not bad if they're like
it's
up the
it's not
street from each
bad.
other.
Oh no, yeah, they weren't in the same area, that's for sure. So
I
I could
understand.
definitely understand the lamentations of the adult Christmas for sure.
Oh yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Christmas. We're here to talk about movies. And thank you so much, you guys, for listening. This episode, we followed Jack Nicholson down the wormhole through the screen time continuum and landed at the 1996 smash hit Mars Attacks. Pew pew pew. Yeah. Now, actually, I've never seen this movie, and Keelan has never seen it either. So that was kind of a fun experience. We're kind of cool about this show is that we're starting to watch movies that we never probably would have considered otherwise.
Mhm.
So we got to watch this Mars Attacks movie just recently, and we wanted to discuss it with you guys. Keelan, do you have any opening comments before we kind of get into the storyline or anything that you wanted to say on the top of this?
Um, I knew this was a star-studded film for 96, but even to get into like the smaller roles and
Oh yeah.
even just minor extra roles, it was very cool to see that some of the smaller roles went to a lot of lesser, like probably not known at all type of actors,
Mhm.
but those B roles, like the kid roles or the boss roles and things like that, they went to up and coming and or already notable actors in that time as well. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away by how many people were in this movie when I was watching the beginning credits. I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of
Right,
people in one movie." Um,
right.
and since it's kind of in that sort of vein of being a plethora of people and all of that stuff, we're going to be kind of talking about this episode a little bit differently. Normally, we go give you guys a play-by-play of each of the scenes, but interestingly enough, this movie, I don't think there was one scene that was more than 3 to 4 minutes long.
I would
Do you
agree.
recall? I think like all of the scenes were about 2 minutes at the most. Some of them were even like 15 seconds long.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Let's think. If I were to put a 20-second guess to it, and I've already started that 20-second timer, hmm, no. The longest scene would probably be on the craft, would be one of the longer scenes.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe the showdown with the president as well.
yeah, that was one of the longer scenes. And I think that was just bridging probably 3 minutes and 15 seconds ish.
Right. Yeah, so it makes it a little bit difficult for us to give you a play by play because we'd be jumping around to people and then scene to scene like every 10 seconds or so. So we're just going to
Mhm.
kind of give you our overall thoughts and then different things that we might have noticed, and we'll have a little discussion about that. But just before we get started, I wanted to give the credentials for this movie, credit where credit is due. Mars Attacks is a 1996 film by director Tim Burton and written by, I believe his name is Jonathan Gems. And it's starring Jack Nicholson, Glen Close, Peirce Brosnan, Natalie Portman, and probably 10 other people.
I'd say 15.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this movie. So I just stopped at the most well known, even though there are people like Danny DeVito in it and Michael
Jim
J.
Brown,
Fox, Jim Brown. I mean, he's one of the main characters.
right?
Yeah.
Glenn Close.
Yeah. Glenn Close plays the first lady.
Oh wait, now I will say, because I know we're not going to name everyone, so I want to make sure I mention. It's very interesting to me that in 1996, Natalie Portman could play Jack Nicholson's daughter, but in 2020, she's most likely to play the slightly younger love interest.
Oh yeah, she's kind of timeless. Well, she's also been acting since she was like 12.
True,
So
this is true. But it's
uh,
just but that's my credit to her is her longevity, how long she's been around.
oh yeah,
And
she's been around forever.
also thinking of actors that were in this movie or just people that we didn't people I didn't see coming. Ray J is a character in the movie. He plays one of
Is
the
he?
young boys. Yeah. So
Was he
the
one of the
older boy,
sons?
yeah, he's one of the sons.
Oh
So
wow.
the older son, Cedric,
Uh-huh.
that's Ray J, and then the younger son, Neville, his name is Brandon Haywood or Brandon Hammond or Brandon Hammond. Brandon Hammond. I know he was in Space Jam.
Oh wow. All right.
Yeah,
So
and a
yeah,
bunch of other stuff too as well.
they just picked some of everybody in this movie, that's for sure. There's just so many people that you can go through.
Right.
But I'm gonna just give like I'll give the sort of introduction, and then we can hit the notes that we thought were most relevant throughout the movie. So the movie starts with a farm, and these farm people noticing a a stampede of cows that are on fire. And and then after the stampede of on fire cows passes by, a spaceship passes through, and then we get to the credit scene where all of the spaceships of Mars are starting to come out of the Earth or out of Mars and head towards Earth. Basically, what you get after that is sort of like an establishing shot of all of the characters that are going to be in the movie. Some of these characters are more major, like Jack Nicholson's character, who plays the president of the United States, along with Glenn Close, his wife, and Natalie Portman, his daughter. Then you have smaller characters like Danny DeVito, who just plays a gambler in Vegas. And you also have major characters like, I'm sorry, Jim Brown, right?
Yeah, Jim Brown, I would say he's probably the third most important character.
Yeah, definitely. Aside, as well, and he's, we'll get into the end, but yeah.
He's now I will say, because I totally understand, he, in my opinion, he came off like just a passerby type of a character as well.
Yeah.
And his involvement and his character involvement in their storyline just kind of ramped up as it kept going.
Right. Yeah, it was more of an across the entire movie sort of storyline. But I would say that the main characters really are Jack Nicholson. Then you have Peirce Brosnan, who plays a professor that is consulting with the government about this revelation that the aliens are on their way to Earth. And then you have people like Michael J. Fox plays an anchor, and his wife is Sarah Jessica Parker, who also plays like a sort of anchor personality type talk show host sort of thing. And so you get these establishment shots of all of these characters, and it's being known or being made known that aliens are on their way, and the president has to figure out whether to disclose this to the people or not. They have a pretty funny back and forth in the Oval Office. I really enjoyed the Army general. I don't know what his name was, but it's
which one, Decker?
Yes. Uh-huh. So it's a kind of a reoccurring joke through this whole movie that this Army general is like so pro-war. And he's like, his first response to everything is nuke them from the sky and stuff like that. Yeah. But he keeps saying it, and everybody keeps like, no. Obviously, they're an intelligent race, and we want to make sure that we're peaceful and we can learn from them.
Right.
And this happens probably a few times throughout the movie, and each time he's like, nuke them, and they're just like, shut up.
Right. Well, in his defense, in my opinion, at least, I feel like that was very on point with what's as of course I was a child at the time,
Mm.
but what a lot of the rumblings of what the government were talking about, everything was nuke related.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, those are the
Everything was
biggest
nuke related.
weapons. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So they decide they don't want to nuke the aliens that are arriving. They want to make sure that they can make contact with them because Peirce Brosnan is very, very sure that because they're an advanced race, they're going to be peaceful. Uh, that obviously turns out not to be true.
Right.
But I want to see if I'm missing anything. Am I missing anything about the kind of
Um,
the introduction to this?
no, that's pretty much it. They brief, we get a briefing on how they feel about one another and how that temperature is moving.
Mm,
That's when we move into, our side characters for the most part.
right.
Not a lot of background on them, but just an introduction to them and a brief jump into their circumstance.
Yeah.
Richie and his family, Byron, who is Jim Brown's character, and his situation, and what we
Mhm.
later find out is also his family.
Right. Right. And then you
Um,
get what's his name? Oh, Jack Nicholson plays a secondary character who's
right, Art Land.
Art Land, who's a Vegas hotelier, and he's building a new hotel. He's just it's kind of like a throwaway sort of character, but it
But
was
he
so
was
funny
great.
because I was looking at him and I'm like, who? He looks really a lot like Jack Nicholson. I had to go into the
Right.
credits and be like, oh, that is
It
Jack
is Jack
Nicholson.
Nicholson. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought the scientist that was working the translator,
Oh
he
yeah.
looked a lot like Jack.
He looked really familiar too. I think I've seen him in something, but I just can't put my finger on it.
I couldn't either. I couldn't either. And I
And
couldn't get his name either to figure it out. I was like, you know what? I'm not meant to figure it out.
and we get you mentioned Richie, which is this young boy who has a family, and he kind of plays a major role in the story as well. He also has a grandmother. They're, living in a trailer, and what's so funny is that I had no idea that
Who his brother
his
was.
I didn't know who his brother or his sister was. Jack Black is his brother, and Christina Applegate is his
It-
sister.
right. Well, see, I was confused on whether or not that was the sister or the neighbor.
I just assumed it was the sister because they were all
Yeah.
together, but it's so funny because Christina Applegate only has one line in the entire
The
movie
entire,
before
yeah.
she's killed.
But three scenes. But three
Yes, yeah,
scenes.
yeah, so I think
And both of which she's acting like a typical Christina Applegate character.
right, yeah, exactly from Married
Married with
with
Children.
Children.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get all these establishing characters, and then it's announced that the aliens are on their way. And the government decides that they're going to receive the aliens and try to make contact with them. They figure out that the aliens are on their way to Nevada, just outside of Las Vegas. So we get this whole procession of people, not just the government and the military, but actual people that are following the news and make this sort of pilgrimage to meet the aliens.
Well, before we get there, we have
Mhm.
there. So what I thought was interesting about that. So the moment where the media is kind of introduced
Mhm.
and they're notified that the president's going to make an announcement, but
Oh yeah.
what was it, Michael J. Fox's character, Jason Stone?
Mhm.
Jason was confused to like, wait, why isn't he speaking to us as he usually does? Why isn't he giving us the information and letting us move forward with it?
Right. Yeah.
Whereas
How
Sarah
like
Jessica
life.
Parker, I like life, right? Sarah Jessica Parker's character, Nicole, she was very okay, whatever. I still have a job.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'm here.
absolutely.
It is what it is.
Well, and it's because Michael J. Fox's character works for a channel called GNN. If
Mhm.
that's not too on the nose.
Yeah, yeah. Needs a little bit of grit and grime.
Yeah. So
Tell us so we can mess up the message.
exactly. Yeah. And he plays this kind of hotshot anchor personality, and he's there at this receiving of the aliens. So is Sarah Jessica Parker. The president is not there. He's watching from the Oval Office with his family. But you have a military general greeting. Are there a couple other people in this? Is it just
Um,
the two anchors that are in that scene?
well, so you have the two anchors, you have General Casey,
Right. Who's the other general?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you had the two generals at first, Decker and Casey. Decker being the white general, Casey being the black general. At
Mhm.
first, I didn't think that was going to be as important, but the very passive but obvious motions between Decker and Casey
Mm.
made it like, oh, okay, so this is something we need to pay attention. And then I had to remember, wait, this is a 1996 movie. Of course, there's some racial tension inside.
Right. Right.
And so I thought it was very I thought it was interesting how it's like you had that whole moment. And so with Casey being there, I think the reason for Casey being there is important because there's always in every movie, right? Who dies first, especially in the
Yeah.
90s.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know
And
if that was. I'm pretty sure that I think that was intentional. I think that that's kind of like a call at the trope,
right.
but I don't know.
I think, I mean, considering this is a comedy, you know, so they're going to pull a couple of strings and cross a couple of those invisible lines, so to speak.
Right.
I feel like it was placed in there intentionally. And I thought it was even more interesting that, you know, so, you know, telling the story of what happened at the meeting as they're getting through everything and he's, you know, everything's nice and polite and friendly as they're trying to communicate. And then when everything, you know, the Martians are like, all right, it's time to turn this thing up a notch. Oh, there's our opening. I'm going to kill the bird.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It was the dove. That's what happened. That was the
Right.
dove. No, it wasn't the dove. He just,
Yeah,
all right,
they were
whatever.
just gonna kill anyways.
Right. So
Yeah,
I think that was the play on, well, you know, the black guy didn't die first.
it was the bird first.
The
Yeah.
bird died first.
Right. Or those cows that were burning.
Hey, the cows were still alive. We can't say
That's true.
no cows were harmed.
We
I
didn't
guess.
see them die. That's for sure.
Um,
So the aliens do land, and the military receives the aliens, and they make this sort of contact thing. And there's a scientist there that has a translator that's trying to, you know, bridge the gap between the languages. And the general, like, at first kind of makes a good progress of you know, being representative and making contact with the aliens. And it sounds like, oh, they're going to be chill because they say they come in peace. And then somebody from the crowd releases a dove into the air.
right.
And for some reason that freaks the aliens out, and they just start ray gunning the dove. And then that's when the general is the first person to die at the hands of the aliens by ray gun.
Correct. And oh wow, no, that happened before that. And so, well, this wasn't that big either. And so this is the point we were making a little earlier, guys, or Nick was making for us a little earlier about how the movie is structured. It's very scattered, so to speak,
Yeah.
in terms of character and storyline until certain people are just not really important.
Yeah.
And I think that's intentional to kind of throw you for a loop, to throw a mist out there. Like, so what's really going to happen? Who's involved, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there was also the moment where Natalie, Sarah Jessica Parker's character was given the interview with Professor Kessler.
Oh,
and this was
yeah.
before the initial meeting.
That's right. That's right. You're right. Yes.
And so,
you know what's funny about that scene? Like, first of all, the cinematography, I really have to say I love Tim Burton when he's not being gothic. I think Tim Burton has such a great visual style when it's not Nightmare Before Christmas. So like when he does things like this, and then like Big Fish, I don't know if you've seen Big Fish, but then obviously Batman as well. I think he's just got a really good visual style when it doesn't have to do with like that emo gothic stuff. Yeah.
when he doesn't have to hit a certain chord of emotion.
Yeah, when he doesn't have to sell Hot Topic t-shirts. That's that's what that is.
You said it, I didn't.
Right. But no, that scene totally reminded me of, have you seen that interview with Katy Perry and Neil deGrasse Tyson?
No, I have not.
Oh
Why did that just intrigue me so much?
Dude, it's so good. There's so many memes made out of that interview, but it's totally like this, where Sarah Jessica Parker's playing this like totally oblivious sort of like interviewer asking like a scientist about very basic questions. One of the questions Katy Perry asked Neil deGrasse Tyson is is science related, or is math related to science?
What?
Katy Perry asked
No,
Neil deGrasse.
I heard you. Yeah. You do not have to say that twice. What?
Bro, it's the best. It's the best. But it
Oh
totally
my
reminded
God.
me of that sort of like thing where it's like just the talk show host who's kind of like doesn't really care about anything but herself. Yeah.
Right. She was trolling, right? Did that come out as she was never mind. Never mind.
No,
Never
she
mind.
wasn't.
Never
She was
mind.
being sincere, dude. She was being real sincere. You got to watch it when when we're done.
Yeah, that's why I said never
Hilarious.
mind. Like, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
um so during the interview with Nicole and Professor Kessler, they you jump to one scene. So in motion of that, we find out that Louise and Byron talk. Louise is Pam Greer's character,
Mhm.
who is Jim Brown's character's ex-wife, and they have two children together,
Mhm.
which is where the two young boys we were talking about earlier, the young man that was in Space Jam and Ray J, appear. At that
Right.
same time, we also see that the press secretary picks up prostitutes,
Oh yeah.
and that
The
is
scene.
all during the interview with Kessler, which is when the Martians intercept the signal, bop, 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 through
Oh yeah. Yes.
their
With the
whatever
TV.
they're really saying.
Yeah.
We then say we can decipher it, and then we get to the meeting and
Right. You're right.
an
See, and this is
annihilation.
yeah, and this is why it's kind of hard to do this movie structurally because
For sure.
it's a little all over the place. So yes,
Do you think they shot this in order, or they shot it in the order it came out of Tim's head and then they structured it later?
I think they shot it according to people's schedules.
Ah,
Honestly, I
I
think
like
you
that.
got that many people there. I think you just shoot it over like weird amounts of time.
So you think like 93 to 95?
Yeah, something like that, or just like you do all of the scenes with Natalie Portman, and then you do all of the scenes with Pierce Brosnan. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because those people are like those are big actors, and they were big
Right.
actors
And
back
most of them
then.
weren't in
So
scenes together. You're right.
yeah, so I think that's why it feels kind of like piecemealed together.
Mm,
Um, so you get the basically the Martians making the first attack on the humans. They start blasting away and vaporizing everybody. Michael J. Fox unfortunately meets his demise at this point, but which is really sad. But then we also have Jack Black's character, who is one of he's Richie's brother that
right.
enlisted in the army to go fight the aliens, and he wants to be a hero, so he tries to charge the aliens with a gun while all of the other army people are missing because apparently they're terrible shots. Even though there's like 5 aliens and then a whole army in front of
Right.
them. Yeah, so Jack Black's character kind of makes a run towards one of the aliens with a rifle, points the rifle, the magazine falls right out. He decides to grab a flag and try to stab one of the aliens, but only gets a couple steps before being vaporized.
Right.
Pretty much everybody's getting vaporized in this movie. So
Right. I mean, and aside from being vaporized, what's interesting is how it's like even the people who are aware that this attack is happening or coming, they all still have life going on, and they're just going about it like, oh, okay, well, the aliens are going to go away, and I'm still
yeah,
going to have to
yeah,
get money for take care of my kid and take granny to the old folks home.
yeah,
It's like, come on, you guys are killing me here.
yeah,
And what I thought was even funnier was the moment in the movie where Art Land approaches and what's funny, I don't know Jim. Oh, Byron approaches
mm,
Byron, and he's trying to get him to be muscle for hire. It's like,
yeah, yeah.
why do you guys keep trying to hire these old dudes to beat people up?
Yeah, yeah, and even in the movie, Byron is like a retired boxer who hasn't been in the game for a really long time, and so yeah, it's pretty funny. So the aliens manage to escape, but they take Sarah Jessica Parker with them
Mhm.
because she faints when she sees what's his name?
Michael J. Fox,
Michael
Jason.
J. Fox, Jason get vaporized. So the aliens take her aboard the spaceship. And this is where we figure out they like to cut people apart and splice them, and turn them
Yeah,
into
this is
other
where
things.
all of your probing fears are confirmed.
Right. Yeah. Not just probing, but taking, your dog's head and putting it on your body and then putting your head on your dog's body. And that's seems to be what they like to do.
I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting
It
because
is.
it
Yeah.
wasn't like this super grotesque, and they weren't
No.
even committing murder. Like that was the
No,
crazy.
no,
Like
they were
they were
keeping them alive.
right.
Yeah.
They were animating your head and brain, and you were good to go.
Right, right. Yeah. So she's on the ship and the world is kind of reeling after that, and then the president gets this apology, right?
Well, no. So then the president wants to open communications after once again
Oh, right.
General Decker is
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, release the nukes,
Yeah, yeah,
nuke
yeah. We have
time,
to we have to attack them.
put them
And then
boys in the microwave."
and then
You know,
Pierce Brosnan's like, "No, wait, what if they were just being misunderstood?"
right? So now we're trying to open communication lines in
Right.
hopes that there was a misunderstanding. Now we
Hmm.
see the aliens laugh on their craft, but they do in fact send a false apology.
Yes, yes, they do. So they do send a false apology and say that they want to meet in front of Congress to further negotiations or whatever. Obviously, that's a we know by now because we know that they're maniacal little aliens, that they have no intention on keeping the peace. So
Right.
they
Well, eh,
yeah.
real something I thought was interesting
Hmm.
when they were dissecting the alien. Right before we jump past that,
Oh yes.
when they were dissecting the alien at the same time as we're seeing them tear apart or dissect and experiment on Nicole.
Mm.
What was that was that like blood or brain goo that was
Yeah,
the humming goo?
the green goo. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
I,
humming, right? Was I
Yeah, I think it was. I
confused?
think it's supposed to tie to the ending somehow. Like, how like they're defeated at the end.
Oh, like they were
But
on a certain vibration. Okay, got it.
right,
Got
right.
it.
I think that that's what they were kind of insinuating with that, but you don't know exactly why that scene is in there.
I did like that about this movie as well, that there were a lot of little moments. They weren't necessarily nonsensical,
Mhm.
but they in fact they
Uh,
they led to more levels of curiosity, and they weren't answered. They did leave you to kind of tie things together.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and it's, this is a homage to the 1950s sci-fi genre.
Correct.
So a lot of that is very cheesy, very low budget, and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So
Right. Hey, this was still done excellent. If this came out in
yeah.
2020, I would still go see it.
Oh yeah, me too. I think that it's aesthetically, and I think that that's just what I mean when I say Tim Burton does aesthetics better when he's not doing the goth thing. Like,
Mhm.
I just think that he has a great eye for aesthetics. If you haven't seen the movie Big Fish, it's one of the most visually beautiful movies I've seen in quite some time. It's just a very good looking movie, and it's a great movie too. It's very heart touching. But yeah, no, I think that there's a lot to be said about just about kind of the homage to the camp and the weirdness, and
Mhm.
so the Martians get to Congress, right?
Well, yeah. So they have this meeting with Congress, which I don't know. I think sometimes, and this is just how writing goes, I guess. I think I have to get out of my um survival mode brain
Mm.
when I'm watching some of these movies, or
Hmm.
any movie really, any type of screenwriting entertainment, because sometimes I forget, hey, this isn't a survival manual, this is
It's just a
entertainment.
movie. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Because
You
I'm
got to
like,
suspend disbelief sometimes.
right,
Yeah,
because I'm like, why would you take a second meeting, and why would you now
yeah.
have them at Congress
Right, right,
when you had them in the middle of a field and they killed whoever was in front of them? What do you
right.
think's gonna happen now?
Well, we need another reason for them to attack, so we got to give it to them.
Yeah, I think we just, it's well, go ahead. I'll get to that.
Yeah, it's just, again, I think, and it's interesting too because I think that a lot of the plot holes that we see in this movie really are just the homage to that older style of movie that didn't necessarily work on story as hard as trying to make visuals a thing. So yeah, so I think that there a lot of these like weird plot holy things are kind of done on purpose,
Oh,
just to be kind of like a callback to an older period of cinema.
okay.
But
Well,
they Yeah, they blow up. No, they kind of blow up, but they vaporize Congress.
Right. They destroyed Congress. So now that they've destroyed Congress, at this point was that 2 military battalions,
Mm-hmm.
Masses of civilians.
Mm-hmm.
Is Decker right? Before we move on, is Decker
Yeah,
right?
he was right the first time.
From the gate. We
From
should
the
did it
gate.
from very first jump.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before the first attack or after the first attack?
Nah, even before preemptive, man.
Just preemptive.
And look, if
know.
you see, like this is the thing, and it's so funny because like we always have these tropes in the sci-fi like alien invasion movies. Like they're never here to help you. they're never
right.
They're never here
because they need to inhabit another.
Yeah, they're usually here because they just want to kill us. And especially if you look at these creatures, these Martians, like I don't think you could ever look at them and be like, oh, they're straight up, they're good, they're good people. Like they look evil. They look like they're up to no good.
Yeah, unless they can breathe oxygen, I'm probably not gonna trust it off.
Right.
Off that. Yeah.
Right.
If they could breathe oxygen and all of that good junk, maybe we could coexist. But I'm not sitting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that I don't know.
So we get a couple more. Pierce Brosnan gets abducted. He gets put on the space station with Sarah Jessica Parker.
I forgot.
Yeah, and he has his head removed. And so his head and Sarah Jessica Parker's head on the dog kind of start falling in love with each other. And that was only established by the interview scene where they lightly flirted with each other. But then we find out that they have feelings for each other, even though I think Sarah Jessica Parker's married to Michael J. Fox.
I was confused on that. Oh yeah, he's dead, right?
Yeah, he's dead now. I guess she's on the market,
single,
right?
Single, sexy, and free. I guess 1996 wasn't that different from 2020 the way they did.
I guess not. Not.
And they said the 90s had higher level of morals. Pish posh.
Right. And so there's a couple other things that happen, but then you really get the next big scene is the Martian girl that appears, right?
Yes.
Lisa Marie.
Right. And that was the part that got me and was funny. Is I was kind of stuck, like, really, Lisa Marie, this is the role you had? The only role? Come on.
Yeah.
This had to be intentional.
Oh, it definitely was intentional. I mean, she's a huge actress.
It was like, come on, you just all right, fine. She did all right though.
I like the character. I mean, it's not really a character; it's more like a bit. But
right,
she's very expressive with the eyes, so that works a lot. But she's in a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Yeah,
and I don't know how well she does in most things. I know she was in a lot, but I've never seen her much.
A lot of horror movies. She's in a lot of horror movies. Okay. So she plays this.
She's a lady of the nights.
Yeah, but it's kind of like she's very robotic. She has a giant beehive. She's got like the red lips with the blue eyeshadow, and she's
almost like Elvira.
Yeah, very much like Stepford Wife. This is what is interesting to me because I know this movie's supposed to be set in the 90s, but all of the aesthetics are 50s aesthetics. So
I think that was just off the inspirational play.
Right. But I think it's just it was interesting because you have this like juxtaposition of like 90s cars and like other people who look like they're dressed in the 90s, but then there's people who look like they're dressed in the 50s because like Richie is wearing regular 90s kids clothing, and so is Natalie Portman. But then you have like Pierce Brosnan's the professor that's always in a suit and with his hair slicked back with a pipe, and Danny DeVito's got like the lounge lizard, like chronic gambler outfit on,
right?
Yeah.
Do you think it was probably like an ode to where the mental status of some people were, like the youth were living in the times of now, but the elders were living in the times of yesterday?
Well, I think it's just partly that Tim Burton likes to bring back the 50s aesthetic as much as he possibly can. He did that with Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice, and so there's like
not explained.
Yeah, and Big Fish has the same sort of aesthetic as well. It's very like pinup 50s, like picket white picket fence, Leave It to Beaver sort of like feel to it. Yeah. So she's the Martian girl is able to infiltrate the White House with help of the pervy Martin Short
Right.
that we
What was his name?
saw.
I know his name was Jerry. I don't remember his last name, but the PR person for the president.
Right. And he, we saw him picking up some ladies of the night before, and so he's obviously going to succumb to the enigmatic Martian girl and invite
That
her.
hasn't spoken.
Yeah, that hasn't spoken a word, and has like really bug eyes and looks very suspicious, but invites her into the White House for a private tour, just because he's that kind of guy, and takes her into the secret Kennedy room, and tries to force himself on her. Really,
right. Hey,
I mean,
a quick finger in the mouth turns into a quick finger of a loss.
yeah, a quick finger in an aquarium, I guess.
Yeah. Which go ahead.
No, I think it's, yeah, I mean, yeah. So Martin Short tries to force himself on her. Obviously, that's an alien in disguise. So he gets his finger bit off and then beaten over the head with something. I don't even know what they.
That was a trophy of some sort.
Oh, okay.
Or a statue of some sort.
We got a statue to the back of the head. So he's dead. And rightly so, because, he was coming on way too strong and being really pervy.
Hey, I think again, 2020 would be proud.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we find out that this, Martian girl isn't a girl after all. It's just one of these creepy Martians in a girl mask.
Right.
And so they make their way to the presidential suite, and they're looming over the sleeping president and the first lady, and about to vaporize them when the dog barks and wakes them up. Right. And so the alien kills the dog, and that was kind of sad.
Yeah, I didn't understand why the dog deserved that.
Yeah, he definitely didn't deserve that. But so there's a scrap, and the Martian takes the president, Jack Nicholson, by phaser point, and the Secret Service are kind of surrounding them. And then one of I guess the Martian sees a bird in a cage, like a parakeet. Right. And freaks out and shoots the parakeet, and that gives the Secret Service enough opportunity to shoot the Martian dead. So apparently they really do hate birds. Like they do not like birds.
It's animals.
Maybe just maybe animals. Yeah, because they did kill the dog.
Maybe the animals, barks and moos and tweets and all of that good junk hurts the brain.
Maybe the singing of birds. Yeah, maybe that's possible. Yeah. So that Martian is able to be killed, and what else happens?
That's when the war. That's when it's on.
That's when the
full scale, everything tips up to the tip top.
That's right.
And we know. Look, the president is officially no longer aloof, and the Martians are aware.
Yes.
But they knew he was a total nincompoop from the beginning. That's why they were playing the game.
Yeah. And so the Martians land or launch a full scale attack on Earth, and are able to do a lot of damage.
But White House tours continue.
Yes. Wait, the White. Oh yeah, that's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So during the invasion, Byron's kids, his sons, are on a White House tour, right?
Yes.
Yes, so they're there, and I guess another important point to the plot is that they're heavy video gamers, and they've been playing this shoot 'em up game that just so happens to involve aliens. And so during the siege on the White House, when the aliens start attacking everybody, Byron's boys are able to take a couple phaser guns and start doing havoc on the aliens, saving the president.
Save the president, yeah. His wife gets killed and they save the president.
Yeah, his wife, Glen Close, gets crushed by a chandelier. And and so Byron's sons are able to hold the aliens back and kill them enough time to save the president, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, get that president out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're in Call of Duty or something.
Hey man, I think that just shows that Ray J really had his aspirations to be an actor.
Apparently, yeah, totally did.
Like, he definitely wanted to be one of the best actors in the world when he was that age.
Yeah.
Then got
Yeah.
older and realized, hey, that's a lot of work. I'm just
It
gonna
is a lot of work.
be an entrepreneur, man.
Right, exactly. Um, so let's see. So this is when basically a lot of people start dying en masse because the aliens are invading, and we start to see that a lot of the characters that were established die as well.
Right. Like Art Land is having his investors meeting, and that gets toppled. The tower that it's in gets toppled by a Martian craft.
Right. Yes.
And then so what happens next was very, I don't know, what's interestingly weird to me is, so we go from DC and everything, we're in Vegas. That's where Art Land's tower is getting knocked over. And then they go backstage, or they come up to a Tom Jones performance. During the Tom Jones performance,
Yes.
of course, it's not unusual. You know what
Yeah.
song, guys.
Oh yeah.
So during that, it drops dark over his backup singers, and then it reappears bright as Martians, and it's like no one noticed the
Yeah.
lights drop from the beginning.
No, of course not.
So that runs Tom out. He runs into Byron and Art's wife, because now she's looking for a way out.
Barbara. Yeah.
Barbara. And again, the other bartender, or the other, excuse me, waiter. Do you remember her?
Which way? Oh yes.
Who kept her costume on the entire
yeah, who was in her showgirl costume,
right,
or cocktail waitress costume. Yeah.
But so I just thought it was interesting to me, because as soon as Tom Jones was introduced, after Byron and Barbara had met, and she's like, well, I have a plane, can you fly? And then we jump to Tom Jones, and I'm like, I guarantee you Tom Jones can fly a plane.
Oh yeah, of course.
Tom Jones runs into them and, well, I got to get out of here. Can you fly a plane? Yeah, you got one? No, but she does.
Perfect timing. And this is also where Danny DeVito decides to join in on the fun, because he sees Tom Jones and tries to get his autograph, but then joins them for the escape.
I just want to know who taught Tom Jones how to fly a plane.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, he's a rich guy that lives in Vegas. I'm sure he's got a couple of Cessnas himself. So,
all right, you got a point there.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically people just start dropping off like flies. Danny DeVito and eventually gets vaporized as well, because he decides to split apart from the group as they try to escape. And
as they get to the escape route too.
Yes. Let's see, the aliens.
Well, and so here is
the aliens start destroying stuff. I just wanted to point out, I like the "Don't run, we are your friends."
Yeah,
saying that over and over again.
Friends, we are your friends. Don't run.
While they're blasting everybody.
Right. We come in peace. Pew, pew.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny that it took the invasion to go full scale and half of everything to be destroyed for another country to finally be involved and communicated with. And only to be communicated with as the Prime Minister of France was being killed.
Yes, absolutely. And so the president of the United States, Jack Nicholson, is in disarray because he thinks that all is lost and everybody else is getting attacked from all around the world. And the general pops back up and tries to get, and well, basically does get him to sign the nuclear approval so that they could send a nuke out to the mothership. I guess there is a mothership, but they all look the same.
Right.
So they launched the nuke into space, and the Martians launch a counter something. I didn't really see what it was until
like, I personally would call it like a vacuum. Like
I was gonna call it a Roomba.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, like those little those little robotic vacuums.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that's what those were called.
Yeah, so basically they send out a Roomba towards the nuke. The nuke gets absorbed by the Roomba, and then it goes back into the mothership, and the aliens smoke the nuclear material.
It inhales it like helium.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, oh, come on, bro.
So it turns out that the nukes don't work anyways. So the general wasn't exactly on the nose for that one.
Not at all. But it would have helped to have known that from the beginning. because that's the
Right.
strongest thing we have. We probably could have survived by just giving up.
Yes. And this is about the time where we cut to Richie and his little storyline.
Right.
And so he's at the trailer park with his family. Christina Applegate is getting it on with somebody else in a trailer. And that's when she had her one line, I believe, where she said, "Oh no."
Yeah.
And, and then the entire trailer gets vaporized. And Richie says that he wants to go get his grandma because he left his grandma at the old person's home. He wants to protect her.
Right.
And as soon as Richie leaves, this giant mech comes out from the aliens and picks up his parents in the trailer and smashes them to bits.
Right. What I did think was a little weak was how fast after that the Martian in the mech looked up and saw Richie rolling away.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought that was kind of weak, but I also thought it was cool how even though they were supposed to be super smart, it's like no, it was clear they just planned this much longer because Richie driving through the little field of wires and of the power lines
yeah.
to a super smart alien, that wouldn't be the end of the line. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But
Yeah,
that did work, and it was
it
like,
did.
okay, so there
Yeah.
were things that they hadn't quite thought of too.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so Richie's able to make it to his grandmother who's listening to, and I had to look this artist up
Oh man,
because
I didn't
I
think of doing that. Good job.
yeah, I needed to know who she was listening to. She was listening to Slim Whitman, and yeah, it's a song called "When I'm Calling You," and it's kind of like a yodely 1930s song. So she's enjoying herself listening to that in her little room at the old person's home while everything is on fire and the aliens are everywhere. And the aliens find her and they bring this giant phaser gun and point it at the back of her head while she's listening to music.
What, do you think they were going to scramble her brain? What do you think that Ray did?
I don't know. I think it was just a bigger ray gun. They just
Okay.
especially wanted to kill her. But Richie's able to make it to the room right before they pull the trigger. This causes Richie's grandmother to pull the headphones out of the audio jack to the song from Slim Whitman, in which the aliens' brains start to vibrate and their heads explode.
Yeah.
So,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So we find out that yodeling apparently is what will cause the aliens' heads to explode.
I really liked that, if I'm being honest, that not that a music that even we find annoying kills aliens.
Right.
But
Well, it's better than Signs, right?
yeah, actually.
Signs with the glass of water killing an alien.
Yeah, 1000%. It was like, wait, I'm not having this discussion. They came to a planet at 75%.
Yeah, I know.
That's why that made that whole movie make no sense. But either way,
I agree.
Yeah, no, not just that it's a sound or a music that we all dislike, but it was something so normal and common at the same time.
Yeah,
that's what I liked.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it would make sense because their language is very like barky and quacky, and it doesn't have any sort of musicality to it. There's no like song in their language.
Right. Imagine what would have happened if they tried to invade Ireland. I mean, not Ireland, excuse me. Italy first.
Italy or Ireland or totally.
Any of them, yeah.
Anyone, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, their heads would be exploding. So this is kind of leads to the revelation, and I don't know how the information got out, but then we kind of see like everybody start to use this one Slim Whitman song to kill the aliens.
Well, Richie and Grandma made it to the radio station to broadcast.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes, you're right. Yes, they make it to the radio station to broadcast the song.
But it did spread in a very viral fashion.
Yes, and it's kind of like the Independence Day, right? Where like now all of a sudden they all know how to defeat the alien. So slowly but surely the aliens are getting destroyed because of the smooth vocals of Slim Whitman. Yeah. And this is when the aliens make it to the headquarters, right? The
Yeah, so they met, and so that also got me. So apparently, the president was in the war room,
Yes.
and not in the bunker.
Yes. Yeah,
I
exactly.
would assume. I would assume.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the war room for sure. So the aliens make their way and they get into the war room, and and this is when General, whatever his name is, comes out with dual wielding some pistols and says, like, you're not going to be able to kill us because we're Americans and we do everything right. And he's being all like pro-America and stuff. And he gets hit with a shrink ray until he's the size of like a chess piece and the aliens squash him.
I thought that was the best.
It's hilarious.
It was like, oh, you guys are tired of him too. Cool.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So then the aliens proceed to basically kill everybody in the command room except for the president, in which Jack Nicholson makes a moving speech about creating and not destroying and us working together and things being better. And you see the alien sheds like a tiny little tear. And that's when he kills him, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, he goes to shake his hand. The alien goes to shake his hand.
The alien's been doing the whole time. He feigns nice, and
right.
It kills you.
Yes,
because humans are stupid and weak.
Yes,
and continue to trust those who shouldn't be trusted, even when it's obvious they shouldn't be trusted.
Yes. So the alien goes to shake the president's hand. The president shakes his hand, but the alien's arm detaches and becomes like a spider thing and goes up his back and basically like aliens him right through the chest.
Yeah. Basically, in true alien fashion.
Yeah. And then it turns into a little flagpole.
I thought that was cool. Once again, I
that's hilarious
for the aliens at a few different points.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, that was clever.
Yeah, totally. So the president unfortunately is dead. And then we cut to
really unfortunate though.
Yeah, not necessarily, no. But then we cut to Byron's storyline, and they're finally at the airplane hangar. They make it to the airplane, but when they open the hangar door, there's a whole group of aliens outside, and they can't get past. Even though I don't understand how they were able to get past 5 minutes later, but
hey.
Byron decides that the only way that they're going to be able to make it out alive is if he sacrifices himself to this group of aliens. So he goes up to the leader alien and challenges him to a boxing match like a real man and proceeds to knock the crap out of the alien.
Right.
But unfortunately, there were just too many of them, and Byron is overcome with the aliens. And as his friends fly away, they see the aliens swarm his body.
See him getting jumped by the rival gang and flying
away. By like 30 aliens at once. Just couldn't handle all of them. And so let's see. Then we so basically the more the song is being played more and more, the aliens are kind of dying and they're losing at this point. We see that, and they kind of their ships start crashing, they start blowing up. The ship that Peirce Brosnan and Sarah Jessica Parker are on crashes into the sea and blows up, but not before they're able to share a kiss with each other.
Right. the head only kiss.
Yes, the head only kiss. And then we kind of cut to Barbara, right? Barbara went to Tahoe.
Yeah, Barbara and Tony.
And Tom Jones.
Tom Jones. Yes. Tony Bennett.
Both of them went to Tahoe to hide in caves to wait this out. So it's the next day, and they realize that the aliens have been defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And the world over, we start to see the aftermath of all of the wreckage and all that kind of stuff. Richie and his grandmother get medals of honor from Natalie Portman,
right? Which I didn't. I thought that was very movie-esque. Because we know in real life there's a chain of command, and the president's daughter doesn't take over.
Yeah, it would have been the Speaker of the House for sure. But then again, they killed Congress, so
you're right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know who goes after that one.
To the writers of this film and Tim Burton, I apologize for all the negative things I thought about that part of the movie.
Yeah, he might have thought it through. Maybe everybody in the chain of command is gone.
Yeah, they might have actually thought that one through. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
he
They
gets
did not.
so they get medals of honor, kind of like a la Star Wars: A New Hope. That's kind of like a little homage they did at the end right there. Um, and then you cut to Byron's ex-wife and her boys
Mhm.
cleaning up the mess in their apartment. And you see that the entire side of the apartment building is blown apart, and everybody's little rooms they're trying to just clean up after the aftermath. And Byron, one of Byron's boys, finds an alien in his bed that's dead, pushes it over the edge down into the street, and then you see a foot crush the alien's skull.
Mhm.
And then you find out that Byron made it out, and he made it all the way to Washington D.C. from Nevada
Right. On foot.
on foot to yeah to be with his family. So, huh?
Haven't changed clothes or nothing. I
Nope.
guarantee you he's an alien.
Yeah, he could have been. It could have been Body Snatcher
Mars,
style.
right. I want to say Mars Attacks 2.
Yeah, exactly. Revenge of Byron. Yeah.
Now, I want to say the ending of this movie for me, it felt like 2020. It felt
Mm,
like the end of 2020, the end of this movie. It was like, oh man, this is what I expect like 2 weeks from now to feel like. Like
right.
she
Yeah.
he made it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now let's try to clean it all up. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
pretty much roll credits for the movie, right?
Yeah, no, that was exactly roll credits for the movie. The daughter gives the medals and roll them.
Yeah.
Now, what else I thought was interesting was for a movie that came out in 1996, the effects and the effort put behind the effects, as you continued to mention through the movie, was just amazing and stunning.
Yeah.
Um, I really liked at the end specifically when the craft crashed into the ocean,
Yeah,
how
I like that
a
too.
real body of water and
Mm,
a real prop to sink it, and it clearly it was that had some actual weight to it for it to look like it was actually sinking in that body of water that they utilized. And it could have just been like a blue tub from a Home Depot and a craft they made, who knows. But
I
you,
think it was on a soundstage for sure. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure it was much larger, but it was, being able to see like the passing of the air for the sinking to happen and the weight
Right.
shift. And it was like, yeah, that's why we watch movies, to see the amount of work you put in.
Well, and then if you notice the skyline in the background too is that really cheap looking skyline. So even when they were doing the best to make the graphics or the effects look good, they still kept that nod to the pulp science fiction, like really cheap, corny sort of aesthetic, which I like.
Yeah, same. I thought it was all just perfectly done. That was something I even have in my notes to mention that I,
Hmm.
I really like the way a lot of that was done, and just the way the aliens were presented, their crafts, um, their image, everything. Again, for 1996 film. Considering when there's alien movies still coming out right now that don't really do that well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
This is a very much a mood. There's a very good aesthetic to this film, and that's obviously because Tim Burton is got that. He's just a genius for that type of aesthetic for sure.
for sure.
Yep, yep, yep. All right. Well, yeah, that kind of rolls the credits for the movie. I know we said we weren't going to explain too much, but we got to the main points, and I think we explained it pretty well. I think I'll go into our verdicts now. For me, I really enjoyed watching this movie. I knew that it was going to be campy and cheesy, and I like movies that understand themselves and know what they are, and especially when it's an homage to that sort of style. I think Tim Burton's incredible. None of the acting really blew me away all that much, but then again, I don't think it was supposed to. Um, I think that's the kind of the trend for this movie is that it's supposed to be just kind of B-rated movie, C-rated movie the entire way through,
Right.
and I think they nailed that aesthetic really well. I think I gotta say for Danny Elfman was also the composer. I have to say that because he's done some incredible compositions in the past before. So, um, but yeah, I gotta say for me, this is a 3 out of 5. I enjoy it for what it is. I think that Is it the best movie in the world? No, but it's really good and it does its job really well. And it's as I said, it's a very much an aesthetic thing.
Nice. I agree. I with the descriptions and everything, I don't think I am as in depth with this one. I appreciated the comedy value. I appreciated this in my what I would consider the directness of the intent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was a lot of cause or intent or thought into throwing you left or right or trying to confuse the viewer.
Right,
Um,
right.
it depends. Some movies I like that. Some movies I don't. Some movies I want to be a little left in mystery, but my comedies not so much.
Yeah, you got to be in the mood for that, for sure.
Correct. And they didn't do that. A lot of alien movies, even when they have when they are based in comedy, they still have that like, oh, what's gonna happen next?
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they only did that in reference to how the characters were gonna move about next,
Right.
not how the alien interactions were gonna play out.
Yeah, we knew the aliens were going to be jerks.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, the movie is named Mars
Yeah.
Attacks.
Yeah, totally.
Um, with all of that being said, and all of the things that I have mentioned that I did and did not enjoy through this entire episode, I also have this rated a 3.
Nice. Yeah, we're slowly getting up into the higher echelons of movies, I can tell.
Mhm.
Now this isn't necessarily a reflection of Tim Burton. I think he's a great director. I honestly I think this is one of his better movies, if
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. There's as I said, Big Fish is one of my favorites. This is very good. He's done Beetlejuice, which I really enjoy as well. Many others, but there's, like
Came out before this.
what's that?
Beetlejuice was before this.
Oh yeah. 89, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely think that he did a great job. So I mean, a 6 out of 10, I think is a respectable It's
I think
it's not.
10 is the bar for a good movie.
I agree. I think this is when you kind of can move into saying like, yeah, that was good. And for what it is good. It's
Mhm.
Don't expect to be like Keelan said, don't expect to be like wondering what's going to happen next or blown away. But if you enjoy visual set pieces, if you enjoy cinematography, if you enjoy concept art and design and stuff like that, you'll really like this movie. It's all very kind of original, but everything is an homage as well, which is really nice. So 6 out of 10 is a respectable score for Mars Attacks.
I agree.
Yes, awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up, Keelan?
Nah. I enjoyed the movie. I This is one of those movies I suggest that if you have not seen, take about 2 hours out of your day.
Yeah,
Check it out. It's
give it a watch. I laughed. I
Yeah.
laughed a few times. I thought it was pretty entertaining for sure.
And also something else I liked about it, and I think others will like, is the Art Land character. If you want to see Jack Nicholson in just a really goofy character for
Yeah.
no reason at all,
Right.
that
Yes.
character is a character for watching.
Honestly, and he did a pretty good job. I mean, like, I didn't know that was him until I looked it up, and then I was like, yeah, because they looked so similar. And
Right.
then he took his hat with the wig off, and then I was like, oh, it's Jack Nicholson. Okay. Because he's wearing a wig, and I didn't really, he had a big cowboy hat on and sunglasses on, so I couldn't really tell.
I like how he was disguising his voice. Who
Oh,
knew
yeah.
Jack could not sound like Jack?
Yeah, he was trying to do like a little Gary Busey in there or something,
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I'll say it like this. Who knew that
Yeah.
Jack? But no, he
Right.
has to sound more like Gary Busey. That's spot on.
Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We really hope you enjoyed listening. We enjoyed having you listen. We enjoy you guys so much, and we're very grateful for you. Please leave us a comment if you feel so inclined. Leave us a like, and maybe consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We are on YouTube, Screen Time Continuum. Look us up. And yeah, thank you so much, you guys. Please be on the lookout for Keelan's podcast, If Numbers Could Talk, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. I also have a podcast, Exofathom, on Monday and Friday night at 8 p.m. So if you guys feel so inclined, please give those a check out too. other than that, that's all I got. You got anything else, Keelan?
Hey man, as usual, take care of yourself, take care of those around you and those who love you.
Absolutely. That's the best way to end it. Well, thank you guys. We're not going to announce the wormhole for this episode. We will get back to you. Yeah, we'll get back to you in a week or so when we're ready to figure out, because this movie has so many characters and actors in it. We're really going to have to like take the time to figure out who we want to go with, because this could change the entire tone of the show. Like, because we've got some big hitter actors in this, so
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
So
just
stay
gonna say
tuned.
this,
Stay
guys.
tuned for that.
Yeah. For those who were expecting to find out what we were gonna do next, just know that when you look through the lineup, we can't figure it out, so you're not gonna guess it, and you will be
Yeah.
surprised that as us, but we will
Yes.
get you that information.
Absolutely, we will, and we hope that you'll take the journey with us into the continuum the next time. And until then, good night. Thank you.